You hear it before you see it. A branch snaps behind you, not the random crack of wind, not the soft collapse of leaves. This is deliberate, measured, watching. Your heart accelerates, your pupils widen. Every evolutionary alarm bell inside your nervous system ignites at once. And here's the paradox. The worst thing you can do is what your body is screaming to do: run. For 200,000 years, your ancestors survived predators without modern weapons, without radios, without rescue helicopters. They survived because they understood something we've forgotten: wild animals don't attack randomly. They calculate, they test, they respond to signals. And in that moment, when a predator locks eyes with you, survival stops being about strength. It becomes about psychology, about posture, about silence, about what your breathing says. Tonight, you are not watching a documentary. You are inside the encounter. Because somewhere on Earth right now, someone hears that branch snap and has less than 10 seconds to decide whether they live or die. Let's make sure you're not the one who chooses wrong. The first truth about surviving wild animal attacks is simple and brutal. Most attacks happen because you were misunderstood. Animals do not see you as a human. They see movement, size, threat level, weakness, competition. You are data. And the first rule of survival is this: control the signal you send. Tip number 1: never run from a predator. When you run, you trigger something ancient in the predator's brain, the chase reflex. Wolves, lions, bears, even large dogs are wired to pursue fleeing prey. Movement equals opportunity. Running flips a switch. You are no longer a confusing object. You are prey. Even if you're faster in the first 5 seconds, you will lose. Most large predators outrun humans effortlessly. A grizzly can sprint over 35 mph. A mountain lion accelerates like a sports car. Instead, do something counterintuitive. Stand your ground. Make yourself appear larger. Raise your arms. Open your jacket. Maintain eye contact, but not in a challenging, aggressive stare. A steady, aware gaze. You are communicating one message: I am not prey. That shift alone has prevented countless attacks. Tip number 12: understand the animal before it understands you. Every species attacks for different reasons. A bear might defend territory or cubs. A mountain lion hunts silently from behind. A moose, massive and unpredictable, may charge out of irritation, not hunger. A snake strikes defensively within seconds. Survival begins long before the encounter. Learn habitats, learn patterns. Know when animals are most active: dawn and dusk for many predators. No mating seasons, no cub seasons. Ignorance is often the real threat. You don't fight randomness. You fight probability. Tip number 3: back away slowly. If you surprise a predator at close range, sudden movement escalates tension. Think of it as a negotiation. You step back slowly, never turning your back. Speak calmly, low, tone, steady volume. Animals respond to rhythm. Panic has a frequency and it spreads. Predators look for instability. Calmness disrupts their script. You are rewriting the scene. Tip number 4: protect your neck and vital organs. If contact becomes unavoidable, survival shifts from avoidance to damage control. Most predators aim for the neck. It is efficient, fast, final. If knocked down, curl into a ball. Protect your throat. Interlock your fingers behind your neck. Spread your legs slightly to make it harder to flip you. For bears defending territory, playing dead can work, but only with defensive bears, not predatory ones. Which leads to something critical. You must read intention. A defensive attack is loud, explosive, often preceded by bluff charges. A predatory attack is quiet, focused, silent. Silence is more dangerous. Tip number 5: fight back against predatory cats. Mountain lions and other big cats rely on surprise and neck bites. If attacked, fight with everything available. Eye strikes, throat, nose. Use rocks, use sticks. Make it costly. Predators avoid injury. An injured hunter starves. You are not trying to win. You are convincing it that you are not worth the risk. And sometimes that calculation saves your life. Tip number 6: carry deterrence, not just hope. Bear spray has proven more effective in many encounters than firearms. It creates a cloud barrier that overwhelms the animal's senses without requiring lethal precision. But here's the deeper insight. Preparation changes posture. When you are prepared, you move differently. You scan differently. You project awareness. Predators sense uncertainty. Preparation radiates stability. Tip number 7: avoid eye contact with certain species. While steady awareness deters some predators, direct staring at others, especially primates, can be seen as a challenge. In regions where aggressive monkeys are common, lowering your gaze slightly without appearing submissive reduces escalation. Survival is not dominance. It's calibration. Tip number 8, don't get between a mother and her young. This is the most common fatal mistake. A mother bear with cubs does not calculate like a hunter. She reacts. If you see young animals, quietly increase distance immediately. Do not photograph, do not approach, do not linger. Curiosity has ended more lives than aggression. Tip number 9, travel in groups. Predators assess odds. A lone human appears manageable. A group changes the math. Even the illusion of size deters attack. That's why hikers in predator regions often talk loudly. Not to scare wildlife, but to avoid surprising it. The safest encounter is the one that never escalates. Tip number 10, secure food and scent. Many attacks are not hunting events, they are food conditioning events. An animal that associates humans with food loses fear. And fear is the invisible boundary that keeps you alive. Store food properly. Avoid strong scents. Clean campsites thoroughly. When fear disappears, boundaries collapse. Tip number 11, learn to read. Body language. A bear popping its jaws. A moose lowering its head and pinning its ears. A wolf stiffening its posture. These are not random gestures. They are warnings. Wild animals prefer avoidance. They escalate in stages. If you miss the early signals, you face the final stage, and by then, reaction time vanishes. Tip number 12, stay upright in water. In crocodile habitats, never linger at the water's edge. Enter and exit quickly. Avoid dawn and dusk. If grabbed, target the eyes, the most sensitive point. In shark territory, avoid erratic splashing. Maintain vertical posture if possible. Face the shark. Slow movements. Predators of water exploit chaos. Control denies opportunity. Tip number 13, respect the environment. The most powerful survival strategy is prevention. Know where you are. A forest is not a park. A savanna is not scenery. A river delta is not a swimming pool. Nature is not malicious, but it is indifferent. And indifference demands respect. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Even if you memorize all 13 tips, survival is never guaranteed, because survival is not only physical, it is psychological. When adrenaline floods your bloodstream, fine motor skills deteriorate, vision narrows, hearing distorts, time stretches, training counters panic, rehearsal builds neural pathways, the brain defaults to its most practiced behavior under stress. If your only rehearsal is cinematic fantasy, punching a bear, outrunning a lion, that is the script your body may try to follow. And fiction kills. But something else is happening beneath these tactics, a deeper layer. Wild animals do not wake up planning human attacks. Most encounters are collisions between expanding human territory and shrinking wilderness. We step into their world often without understanding the language, and sometimes the branch snaps not because you are hunted, but because you are seen as unpredictable. The escalation curve in an animal encounter mirrors human conflict, misinterpretation, posturing, testing, decision. The difference is speed. Animals decide faster, which means the most powerful survival tool you possess is awareness before fear. Notice silence shifts, notice birds scattering, notice absence of sound. Forests go quiet when predators move, the world whispers warnings. Most people simply aren't listening, and that brings us to something rarely discussed. Your posture, breathing, and gaze don't just affect predators, they affect you. When you slow your breath, your vagus nerve signals safety to your nervous system. Heart rate stabilizes, vision widens, decision-making improves. Calm is not passive, calm is tactical. Survival experts often say the first fight is internal. Win that, and the external odds improve dramatically. But here is where the scale shifts. Wild animal survival isn't only about wilderness, it reveals something about being human. For most of our evolutionary history, we were not apex predators, we were vulnerable. We survived not because we were strongest, but because we were adaptable. We learned patterns. We communicated danger. We told stories like this one. Because knowledge passed forward is a shield across generations. And yet, modern life distances us from this ancient contract. We walk through wild spaces as tourists, forgetting we are biological organisms entering another biological system. Predators are not villains. They are perfectly tuned equations of survival. And when you meet one, you are witnessing millions of years of refinement staring back at you. That eye contact contains something unsettling. You are not at the top of the food chain in that moment. You are an option. And that realization, that thin membrane between safety and vulnerability, humbles you. It sharpens you. It reminds you that civilization is a fragile overlay atop a very old world. So here is the final shift. Surviving wild animal attacks is not about conquering nature. It is about reading it, respecting it, anticipating it. Because the most dangerous mindset is believing you are separate from it. You are not. You carry the same survival circuitry in your nervous system that the predator carries in its muscles. You are both products of the same evolutionary arms race, and when that branch snaps behind you, what determines the outcome is not dominance. It is awareness, stillness, signal control, preparation. 13 principles, one reality. Nature is always calculating. The question is, will you be? The forest is no longer scenery. It's geometry, angles, distances, escape vectors, shadows that weren't there a second ago. You thought survival was about knowing what to do when the attack begins. It isn't. It's about controlling the minutes before it does. Because chapter 2 is not about reaction. It's about positioning. And positioning begins long before the growl. You don't get hunted when you're strong. You get hunted when you're isolated. Predators look for separation. The single zebra drifting from the herd. The deer lagging behind. The human walking alone with headphones in, cutting themselves off from the ecosystem's early warning system. Tip number 13, never isolate yourself unnecessarily in predator territory. Separation equals vulnerability. Even if you're physically capable, your psychological presence multiplies in numbers. Two people standing tall appear larger, louder, less predictable. Isolation simplifies you, and predators love simplicity. Now the scale shifts. Night. Darkness isn't the absence of light, it's the redistribution of advantage. Most large predators see better than you in low light. Their eyes contain more rod cells, specialized for motion detection in dim environments. That shimmer you catch in your flashlight beam, that's the tapetum lucidum, a reflective layer behind their retina amplifying every photon. You're nearly blind by comparison. Tip number 15, control light. Control power if you must move at night. Carry a strong light source. Sweep deliberately. Avoid frantic motion. A steady beam signals awareness. Predators prefer surprise. Illumination disrupts it. But here's the deeper layer. Light changes your psychology too. Fear expands in darkness. Clarity shrinks it. And then there's sound. Silence in the wild is not peaceful, it's informational. When birds erupt from trees, when insects stop humming, when the forest's baseline frequency drops, something moves through the system. Tip number 16, learn the language of silence. Your ancestors survived because they understood environmental cues. Alarm calls from monkeys, sudden flight patterns in deer, even the direction fish scatter in shallow water. Nature broadcasts alerts constantly. You just forgot how to tune in. The forest is not quiet. It's communicating. Now imagine escalation. You're hiking along a ridgeline. The wind shifts, and with its scent. To you, it's subtle. To a predator, it's biography. Animals map the world through smell. They can determine your health, your stress level, whether you've eaten meat, even how recently you passed through an area. Tip number 17, manage your scent profile. Avoid strong perfumes. Secure food airtight. Wash clothing properly in extended trips. This isn't paranoia. It's probability management. The less sensory footprint you leave, the less you announce yourself. But sometimes, despite every precaution, the encounter becomes intimate. Too close. And now we enter the most misunderstood territory in survival psychology, dominance displays. Humans often mistake aggression for strength, yelling wildly, charging, throwing objects immediately. Sometimes that works, sometimes it triggers. Tip number 18, escalate gradually. Think in stages. Stage 1, presence. Stage 2, enlargement. Stage 3, vocal assertion. Stage 4, defensive force. Skipping straight to chaos removes nuance. Predators escalate in steps. Mirror that rhythm. You are negotiating boundaries, not declaring war. Let's zoom into a specific scenario. A bear stands 20 meters away. It rises briefly on its hind legs. Most people think this means attack. Often it means assessment. Bears stand to smell better, to gather data. If it huffs, sways, or force charges, it may be defensive. If it approaches silently, head low, focus gaze, that is predatory. Tip number 19, differentiate defensive versus predatory behavior. This distinction changes everything. With defensive bears, playing dead may reduce perceived threat. With predatory bears, fighting back is essential. Misreading intention is fatal. But here's the problem. Adrenaline distorts perception. So how do you counteract that? You rehearse mentally before it ever happens. Visualization is not fantasy, it's neurological programming. Studies in performance psychology show that imagined practice activates similar neural circuits as physical rehearsal. Tip number 20, pre-program your response before entering wilderness. Visualize encounters calmly. Picture standing still, backing away, deploying spray correctly. Under stress, the brain defaults to familiar scripts. Install the right one. Now we shift from land to water, rivers, lakes, coastal shallows. Water is deceptive because it looks calm from above. But below the surface, you are slower, less stable, less dominant. Tip number 21, never assume still water is safe. Crocodiles ambush from below. Sharks investigate from blind angles, minimize splashing, maintain visual awareness, avoid swimming near feeding zones or murky water where visibility is low. Predators exploit blind spots, water multiplies them. Let's confront something uncomfortable. Technology has made us arrogant. GPS, satellite phones, drones, but batteries die. Signals fade, and when they do, your survival returns to primal fundamentals. Tip number 22, no direction without devices. Learn basic navigation, sun position, moss growth patterns, river flow logic, terrain memory. Disorientation leads to panic. Panic leads to mistakes. Mistakes lead to vulnerability. Technology is a tool. Awareness is a skill. Only one works when everything else fails. Now the intellectual shift. Why do animal attacks feel so terrifying? Because they strip away abstraction. In cities, danger is indirect, financial, social, digital. In the wild, danger is physical and immediate. Teeth, claws, weight, force. There's no negotiation, no language, just outcome. But that immediacy also reveals something profound. You are still biologically equipped for it. Your pupils dilate to detect motion. Your hearing sharpens. Blood reroutes to major muscle groups. Adrenaline increases glucose availability. Your body becomes a survival machine. The fear you feel is not weakness, it is activation. Tip number 23, breathe with intention. Slow inhale, slower exhale. This stabilizes your heart rhythm and widens peripheral vision. Tunnel vision kills, wide awareness saves. Breath is the bridge between instinct and strategy. Now consider terrain. High ground changes leverage. So does dense brush. Open fields offer visibility but no cover. Forests offer concealment but limited escape routes. Tip number 24, choose terrain wisely. Avoid thick vegetation where ambush predators hide. Stay in open, visible paths when possible. Do not corner yourself against cliffs or water edges. Position determines outcome before movement begins. Let's raise the stakes. You are injured. A twisted ankle. Bleeding. Fatigue. Predators detect weakness faster than you can conceal it. Tip number 25, manage injury immediately. Stop bleeding. Elevate when possible. Minimize limping. Rest strategically. Weakness isn't moral. It's biological data, and predators read data flawlessly. But here is the quiet revelation of this chapter. Most wild animal attacks are avoidable. Statistics show that fatal encounters are rare compared to millions of safe interactions daily. Fear exaggerates probability. Respect calibrates it. The goal is not to fear the wild. It is to understand it deeply enough that fear becomes informed. There is power in that shift. Because once you stop seeing nature as chaos and start seeing it as patterned behavior, the terror reduces. You move from helpless to prepared, from prey to participant. And now we approach something larger than tactics. Human expansion has compressed wilderness into smaller zones. Animals adapt. Some lose fear. Others grow more defensive. Conflict increases not because animals changed, but because boundaries blurred. Which means the ultimate survival skill in the modern world is not aggression. It is coexistence intelligence, knowing when to step back, when to give space, when to accept that you are visiting an ecosystem older than your species' written history. And here's the psychological twist. When you move through the wild with awareness, calm, and respect, something shifts inside you. You stop feeling hunted. You start feeling aligned. You notice wind direction automatically. You scan tree lines without effort. Your nervous system synchronizes with the environment rather than resisting it. That synchronization is ancient. It's the same state early humans used to navigate predator-dense landscapes. Hyperaware, but not panicked. And in that state, survival becomes less about reacting to crisis and more about never triggering it. But we are not done. Because there is one final layer most people never consider. The predator within you. Not violence, not savagery, but instinct, pattern recognition, territory awareness, threat detection. You carry those. Same systems. Modern life has muted them. The wild reactivates them. And when you walk out of the forest after mastering these principles, something subtle changes. You don't feel dominant. You feel awake. Because survival knowledge is not about expecting attack. It's about understanding reality clearly. And clarity is power. But what happens when the threat isn't teeth or claws? When it's size, mass, an animal so large that fighting is meaningless. That is where chapter 3 begins. Because the final lessons aren't about confrontation. They're about scale. And scale changes everything. Mass changes the equation. A charging grizzly is not a duel. A bull moose in rut is not a negotiation. An elephant in must is not a test of courage. It is physics, and physics does not care how brave you feel. In the final layer of survival, strength becomes irrelevant. What matters is distance, angle, obstruction, and time. When the animal outweighs you by 10 times, 20 times, your strategy shifts from resisting force to redirecting it. Tip number 26: respect momentum. Large animals cannot pivot instantly at full speed. Their power is forward-driven. If a moose charges, your best chance is lateral movement behind a large obstacle, a thick tree, a boulder, a vehicle. Not thin cover, not a sapling, something substantial. You are not outrunning mass, you are forcing it to decelerate. And deceleration buys survival. Let's slow this down. Picture a grizzly emerging from brush. The air smells metallic, musky. Your chest tightens. It huffs a low explosive warning. Maybe it bluff charges, maybe it doesn't. If it commits, your goal is not to win, it's to communicate quickly and clearly. Tip number 27: know when to yield completely for defensive bear attacks, especially when cubs are nearby. Dropping flat, protecting your neck, and remaining still can shorten the encounter. Resistance in that context prolongs perceived threat. Stillness can end violence faster than struggle. But this is species-specific logic. A predatory bear stalking quietly. That requires the opposite response. This is the final truth of scale. The same behavior that saves you in one scenario kills you in another. Nuance is survival. Now consider elephants. In parts of Africa and Asia, elephants cause more human fatalities than large cats. Not because they hunt humans, but because they dominate space. When threatened, especially during must, bulls can charge with terrifying speed. Tip number 28: identify warning signs early. Head high, ears spread, trunk curling inward, dust thrown. These are escalation signals. But here's the key distinction. A mock charge often includes flared ears and trumpeting. A real charge frequently comes with ears pinned back and silence. Silence again. Silence is commitment. Your move? Put large terrain between you and the animal. Elevation helps. Dense obstacles help. Do not run in a straight line across open ground. Force them to adjust trajectory. Every adjustment costs energy and time. We need to confront something uncomfortable. Humans are not built for brute survival against megafauna. We survived historically not by overpowering but by anticipating, collaborating and planning. Community was our weapon. Communication was our shield. So when modern individuals enter wilderness alone and unprepared, they are stepping outside the strategy that made our species successful. Tip number 29: leave an information trail. Tell someone your route. Carry communication devices. Set return times. This isn't fear-based living. It's strategic redundancy. Survival is rarely a single action. It's a network of precautions layered together. Now let's expand even further. The most dangerous large animal on Earth isn't the bear. It isn't the elephant. It isn't the shark. It's the one that loses fear of humans. When wildlife becomes habituated through feeding, garbage exposure, repeated close contact, it stops interpreting you as unpredictable. Fear dissolves. And fear is the invisible boundary that keeps conflict low. Tip number 30: never normalize proximity. If an animal does not retreat when you approach, you must retreat instead. Re-establish distance. Reinforce boundary. When fear disappears, confrontation probability rises. Respect maintains equilibrium. But survival at this scale isn't only tactical, it's philosophical. Because facing something massively stronger than you forces a psychological reckoning. Modern life convinces you that you are in control. Wild spaces remove that illusion. You feel small, insignificant, vulnerable. And that vulnerability does something powerful. It recalibrates your ego. Tip number 31: replace panic with perspective. Fear screams, "I'm going to die." Perspective says, "This species has survived millions of years. I am in its territory. I must adapt." Adaptation is humbling. Humility is stabilizing. And stabilization improves judgment. Let's talk about fatal mistakes. Most catastrophic wildlife encounters share patterns. Ignored warning signs. Approached for photographs. Assumed docility. Fed intentionally or unintentionally. Turned backs carelessly. Overconfidence kills more often than ignorance. Tip number 32: assume wild means unpredictable. Even herbivores can become lethal under stress. Bison can sprint faster than Olympic athletes. Hippos are responsible for more annual human deaths in Africa than lions. Mass plus speed equals catastrophic force. Never let size trick you into complacency. Now the final psychological escalation. Imagine this: you are face to face with a massive animal. There is no immediate attack. no charge, just presence, breath visible in cold air, muscle under hide, eyes assessing. In that suspended moment you experience something ancient, not just fear, recognition. You are not separate from this world, you are part of it. Your nervous system's predator and human evolved in parallel arms races across millennia. You shaped each other. The reason your heart pounds in that moment is because your ancestors survived moments exactly like this. You carry their memory in your biology. Survival isn't improvisation, it's inheritance. So what is the ultimate survival principle beyond all 32 tips? Awareness before action, distance before dominance, preparation before panic, respect before reaction. Because the wild does not operate on morality. It operates on energy, territory, reproduction, survival. It doesn't hate you. It doesn't target you personally. It simply responds. And when you learn to move through it without triggering threat signals, you unlock something rare, coexistence without conflict. But here is the final conceptual shock. The branch snapping behind you at the beginning of this story. It may never have been a predator. It might have been wind. Your imagination fills gaps faster than reality does. Fear evolved to protect you, but unchecked fear distorts perception. And distorted perception leads to catastrophic choices. The real enemy in many encounters is misinterpretation. You either underreact or overreact. Both are dangerous. Balanced awareness is survival. So when you walk into wild territory next time, remember this: you are not entering chaos. You are entering a system older, sharper, and more refined than any city. A system governed by signals. And you are one of those signals. How you move, how you breathe, how you respond. That is the message you broadcast. Nature is always calculating, but so are you. And in that shared calculation lies the fragile line between conflict and coexistence. The branch snaps again. This time you don't panic. You pause. You assess. You breathe. Because survival was never about overpowering the wild. It was about understanding it deeply enough that it chooses not to overpower you,